has been inserted there pursuant to war schedule. This one, once ratified by the people of Kenya, it will hang there. And therefore, as correctly advised by other people who appeared before us, it may be a superfluous schedule.
According to senators, the JLAC report findings need to be addressed if the process is to work for the good of the Mwananchi. The circus notwithstanding, after both parliaments claimed were debating two different versions of the bill. The MPs have found themselves in a dilemma over their powers to make amendments on the bill owing to its popular initiative state. However, senators say Article 257 does not bar Parliament from amending the bill, pledging to push to have the document corrected.
Those are just ordinary Kenyans. They are bound to make mistakes because they are not the legislative arm. We are the people who make legislative interventions. So we should have an opportunity to make these corrections.
I support this bill, but I'm going to vote for it if we are allowed to make the amendments that we think we should make for the bill to go through.
A section of lawmakers, however, in both houses have vowed to shoot down the bill.
Leo sisi tunakuja hapa kuzungumzia bill, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo kwanza inaongezea mzigo wa Njiku ambaye tayari sahihi ana mzigo wa kutulipa mishahara sisi wabunge 416. Tunazungumzia kumwongezea mzigo wa 650 ya wabunge.
Is it possible for us to bring constitutional amendments that, Mr. Speaker, contradict the basic norms of the Constitution itself?
With the debate now set to spill over to next week before members take their votes, the big hurdle remains on whether the lawmakers will manage to push their way into having the bill amended. KEMSA for Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe has denied any involvement in the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency scandal. Appearing before the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee, Murathe said it was unfair for him to be tracked to COVID billionaires, yet he has nothing to do with what happened at KEMSA. This, as President Uhuru Kenyatta has revoked the appointment of James Kembi Gitura as the chair of the Board of Directors of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority and appointed Mary Chao Mwandime to the position.
An agitated Murathe told committee members that all he did was to facilitate a friend to do business, acting as their bank guarantor. This comes after he admitted he was a bank guarantor for a firm implicated in the 7.8 billion shillings KEMSA scandal.
His word is good. That, in the ordinary meaning, is a guarantee. Correct? The context under which Mheshimiwa Kajwang is talking about is the legal, contractual, where you put it down in writing. In this case, when it is your word which is being taken, because you're a high whatever member of society, that your word is your bond, there's nothing written, there's nothing, they're just saying for our comfort, can you please assure us that if we give these guys these kits, they take, they are paid, we will be paid. And I say yes, because I know them. That's it.
Murathe said he only played as a guarantor to Killing Limited that was awarded a 4 billion shilling tender to supply 450,000 personal protective equipment to KEMSA.
Entech Technology Limited. That Killing Limited and Entech only requested me to be a signatory to Killing Limited's bank account to guarantee that Entech Technology Limited, as the supplier of the PPE kits, would be paid upon KEMSA effecting the anticipated payment on completion of the procurement process, and I obliged.
The Jubilee Party Vice Chairman says in the affidavit he was requested by Killing, then under the directorship of Wilbrod Gashoka and a Chinese national Xi Jinping, to guarantee payments to a Chinese firm trading as Entech Limited. However, Gashoka, when he appeared before the committee, he denied claims to have been involved in the tender as he had sold the company.
He does not say who nominated her. So to say that that is not giving you contradictory information. The affidavit only stated that she was nominated.
Okay. Actually, you said that she owns it. including everything. And I even asked you, do you know with the word without any beneficial ownership what it means? Even that you contradicted your own meaning against what you signed.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA board has been overhauled. In a Gazette notice, President Uhuru Kenyatta revoked the appointment of Kembe Gitura as the KEMSA board chairman and appointed Mary Chao Mwadime to replace him. In the same Gazette notice, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe appointed new KEMSA board members. They include Lawrence Wahome, Robert Nyarango, Terry Kiuge Ramadhani, and Lincoln Nyaga Kinywa. Sulemanieri, Channel 1 News.
And some news coming from State House, where President Uhuru Kenyatta met today with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, in Nairobi to discuss the issues surrounding refugees and asylum seekers in the region, as well as receive a brief on the status of Kakuma and Dadaab refugee camps. Following the UN High Commissioner of Refugees meetings with the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and Ambassador Rachel Omamo. This meeting comes in the wake of the government's communicated intention to work toward the closure of the refugee camps in Kenya. A joint team comprising officials from the government and the UN agency will therefore be formed to finalize and implement a roadmap on the next steps towards humane management of refugees in both camps. Kenya has announced that it plans to close the two camps by the 30th of June, the year 2022. Elsewhere, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe will be giving us, or will be having some reports from Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe on the status of COVID-19, as well as vaccines and immunization. But before we get there, let's now get some bad news, where the alleged third body of the missing Kitengela 4 has been recovered at Mathioya River, Murang'a County, stashed in a gunny bag. The body was recovered by sand harvesters. The discovery came a few hours after the body of another victim, Elijah Abuong, was identified at Murang'a County Government Mortuary. Abuong's body was also earlier recovered at the same vicinity before being taken to the mortuary.
According to Francis Karanja, a sand harvester, they recovered the body early in the morning while harvesting sand. They then alerted the area chief, who requested them to remove the body from the riverbed.
Sasa nikaenda nikakanyanga tu na mguu, nikasikia ni kweli kuna gunia. Kuigonga na mguu ikawa light, nikaishika na mkono, kuinua tu hivi nikaona miguu ya mwanadamu.
Residents claim 5 bodies have been collected in the same spot in the last 1 year alone. The body was stashed into a gunny bag and tightly tied with a rope in the curve shape to fit in the bag. The body had clothes and jewelry on but had no shoes. According to eyewitnesses, the hands had been chopped off from the wrist. The body was discovered 50 meters from where the body of another victim of the missing Kitengela 4, Elijah Abuong, was found.
Na sasa hatujui chenye kinaendelea eneo hili, kwa sababu huyo ni mtu wa 5 kutoka December.
The smooth swash sounds of Mathioya River and thickets possibly provided an ideal dumping haven for their assailants. The recovery of the 2 bodies has ignited mixed reactions on who possibly abducted the 4 and what reasons prompted their tormentors to kill them in cold blood. The body has been booked at Murang'a County Government Mortuary as an identified male person.
Quite some devastating news there for the families and friends. Well, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has announced that Kenya hopes to graduate from the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunizations Gavi supported supply of primary vaccines, including those used for immunization by the year 2027. The CS, who spoke at the Revital Healthcare EPZ Limited in Kilifi County, said Kenya hopes to boost its vaccine production from the current 30% to 40%, in line with the President's directive on the need to support local manufacturers. In the meantime, Kenya reported 495 new coronavirus infections from 4,929 samples screened, pushing the positivity rate to 10%, as reported by Purity Museo.
Kenya aims to join the list of 16 other countries across Southeast Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe and Latin America in transitioning out of the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunizations (GAVI). This means Kenya will begin to fully self-finance their vaccine programs by 2027. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe announced that the decision is in line with President Kenyatta's directive on procurement of 40% from local manufacturers and suppliers.
There is pride as a nation when we produce our own medicines locally. The idea of being blackmailed to be told to do certain things because you don't have your own products is a position, Mr. Chairman, that you are assisting Kenya to get out of.
Kagwe, who was speaking in Kilifi County at the Revito Healthcare EPZ Limited, said it was time the country took advantage of the existing huge potential in the production of healthcare products by local companies.
Production of health facilities is not actually new to us. As many of you may be aware, the country already produces veterinary vaccines at the Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institute, KEVAVAPI, where we even export livestock vaccines across the region.
Kenya imports 70% of her pharmaceutical requirements, including vaccines and other biological products. Gavi, through the COVAX facility, has delivered 1.52 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine to Kenya, but it remains uncertain when another consignment to administer second doses to those who received their first jab will arrive, owing to the global vaccine shortage. A total of 865,897 persons have so far been vaccinated against COVID-19 disease. In the meantime, Kenya's coronavirus positivity rate stands at 10% after 495 new coronavirus infections were reported in the last 24 hours from 4,929 samples screened.
You recall that yesterday we were at about 9.8%. Today we are at 10%. It tells you that we are averaging, and we are averaging around the same region. And our hope and prayer is that this is where we will stay. And if we stay on this lane because of observing all the measures that we have given, then it is likely that we will go on to open our economy.
19 deaths have been reported during a similar period. 13 occurred on diverse dates within the last 1 month, and 6 are late death reports from facility record audits. This now pushes the cumulative fatalities to 2,707. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
Elsewhere, 3 people perished while 4 were injured after a matatu they were traveling in was involved in an accident early this morning at Kibarani area in Mombasa County. The dead include the driver of the ill-fated matatu, which had 7 passengers on board. 1 passenger who sustained serious injuries is receiving treatment at the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital.
According to Coast General Traffic Commander Peter Maina, the 14-seater matatu was coming from Makupa heading to Changamwe and lost control at the Makupa Causeway Bridge. The public service vehicle then veered off the road and hit a canter truck that was moving in the opposite direction. Maina said they're investigating the cause of the accident. He has, however, cautioned drivers to be careful on the road and to avoid speeding.
Kuna gari 14-seater PSV ilikuwa inatoka area Makupa ikielekea Changamwe. Kufika Makupa Causeway ikapoteza mwelekeo na ikavuka the other side of the road. Imekutana na gari oncoming, akanta, imegongana na tukapoteza watu 3. Wenye wamejeruhiwa bado hatujadhibitisha ni wangapi, na pia cause of the accident is still under investigations.
Daniel Odhiambo, the driver of the canter, together with his stand boy, escaped unhurt, terming it as a miracle to be alive.
nikaona Nissan inatoka kwa flyover, inakuja kwangu. Nikijaribu kuhepa, ilikuwa inakuja speed, singeweza, alafu nikaifikia. Kwa hivyo naweza sema Mungu amenijalia, niko mzima na tandboy wangu, na kwa Kenya imefanyika. Ningependa Wakenya waniombee kwa sababu niliona baharini hapa. Mimi nilijua naingia kwa hiyo baharini. Sasa nimemwambia Mungu asante.
Elsewhere, one person has succumbed to injuries in hospital sustained after a truck with a roller on board crashed into several motorcycles, a Probox vehicle, and pedestrians in the outskirts of Kisii town.
Kuna gari ilikuwa mbele yake, ilikuwa imesukumwa na hiyo gari kubwa kufikia kwa ukuta. Nikaona katika hali hiyo, tukaona kuna driver alikuwa ndani, lakini hakuumia vile. Sana sana wale waliumia ni wale ambao walikuwa kwa pikipiki, walikuwa wamebeba kwa barabara.
Hapo juu ilikuwa imetoka kwa speed nyingine yenye si ya kawaida, na ilikuwa imebeba mzigo mwingine, gari nyingine juu ya rora. Sio gari yenye ruka, hiyo pump iliruka kwa njia yenye si mzuri hivyo ikiteremka. So sisi kama hapa wanafunzi tunasimamanga hapa, tunataka kama serikali inaweza eka vitu hapa yenye inazuia hiyo kidogo kidogo, ndio ajali sipungue kidogo kidogo.
11 others were injured during the accident that occurred along Kisii-Keroka Highway at Kisii National Polytechnic.
A trailer carrying a tractor lost control, and that also, after losing control, the information I have is it ran over several borders before it overturned.
Witnesses said the truck was moving at high speed. Those injured were taken to Kisii Technical and Referral Hospital.
And a section of women leaders have dismissed claims that the nomination of Lady Justice Martha Koome to serve as the county's first female Chief Justice was biased to favour or impress women. Led by Public Service and Gender Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Corbia, the women leaders said the unanimous selection of Lady Justice Martha Koome by the Judicial Service Commission was purely based on a strong vote of confidence in the skills, knowledge and competencies of the Court of Appeal judge who has dealt with obstacles entrenched in social and cultural norms that deny leadership opportunities to women.
When Lady Justice Martha Karambu Koome faced the Judicial Service Commission panel 2 weeks ago to defend her suitability as the next Chief Justice, she told the interviewers led by Professor Olive Mugenda that gender attributes do not define leadership in regards to the office of the Chief Justice.
The attributes of my being a woman or being a man would do anything in the office of the Chief Justice. It is the leadership skills. But it will be historical for this commission to nominate a woman for the office of the Chief Justice because it has never happened before.
Amid claims that Justice Kohome's naming as the ideal candidate to serve as Kenya's 15th Chief Justice was made in favor of the female gender, a section of women leaders, among them cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, chief administrative secretaries and governors, have come out to support her nomination.
We are excited and welcome this nomination of Justice Martha Koome. She has dealt with obstacles entrenched in social and cultural norms that deny leadership opportunities to women.
We are not in these positions because we are women. We are in these positions because we are competent Kenyans, equal to the task. We just happen to be women.
Allow us to celebrate. Allow this amazing woman who fought so hard for this post to go forward without any negativity. She's going to serve all Kenyans.
In an event that brought together a section of women leaders to take stock of the milestones achieved in the gender equality and women empowerment agenda in the country, the leaders called on Parliament to approve nomination of Justice Koome.
I can assure you that once her name is presented on the floor of the House of the National Assembly and of the Senate, we shall do our bit as women because sisterhood is truly powerful.
Their sentiments echoed by Westlands Member of Parliament Tim Wanyonyi, who lauded the Judicial Service Commission for nominating Martha Koome, saying she is the best suited to succeed retired Chief Justice David Maraga.
And I know she's going to make a very good Chief Justice. She is a person who is level-headed and has, I think she has maintained herself in the profession very, very well. In spite of those days when there were activists, but she was very constructive even in her criticism of the government and many other things. So I think she was, her choice is the best.
According to Wanyonyi, Koome's nomination creates equality for every Kenyan for any position in the country, irrespective of tribe, gender or physical abilities. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
On to health matters, where the National Hospital Insurance Fund is considering adding a treatment for COVID-19 to its medical coverage bouquet as part of policy reforms at the state corporation. NHIF Board Chairperson Lewis Nguyai says expanding services to include treatment for COVID-related ailment is among interventions to facilitate full implementation of universal healthcare coverage, one of the 4 pillars in the government's development agenda.
Kenyans who are subscribed to the National Hospital Insurance Fund could soon benefit from more services, including coverage of COVID-19 treatment. Newly installed NHIF Board Chairperson Lewis Nguyai says coverage of COVID-related ailments is among a raft of policy reforms ongoing at the state corporation.
And one of the things that we will have to revisit is to look at how we can also be able to supplement COVID-19 patients to be able to enjoy some extent of cover.
A panel of experts have been implementing comprehensive reforms to reposition NHIF as a strategic provider of health insurance in the country.
We are enhancing the engagements between us and the providers to ensure that services are efficient and in real time. And this also formed part of the HEFREP recommendations. And that is why last week we were inaugurating the launch of the e-claim system in the entire Western region.
Last week, NHIF inaugurated the electronic claim management system in Western region, which will also be rolled out in the rest of the country.
An extensive ICT reforms that have seen many internal processes being digitalized to ensure service delivery and curb fraud.
Nguyai, who was appointed NHIF board chair by President Uhuru Kenyatta in February this year, formally assumed office on Thursday, taking over from Hannah Muridhi. Ruth Wamboy for Channel 1 News.
You're watching us live from Broadcasting House. This is Business Insight. We still have more coming along, or coming on this bulletin. Stay right here.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye treatment ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Kipi ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei.
Next on.
Are you serious? Salvador, it's a commitment I just can't throw away like this.
Isn't it impractical to be here and there?
Yes, it might be. But these are commitments I made before I started living here with you. You remember that, right? Now I know he doesn't like me.
Why?
He thinks I'm not his daughter. I didn't want to give you any more problems, Martha. I asked Cesar for his help. And when he looked at that guy, it turned out he has a bad reputation. Good heavens. Please don't let that awful woman get in the way of Amaya and Max's love.
Next on.
Lakini kuna walimu wengine ambao hawana makini katika kazi zao.
Wana kukumbusha kwenda kwa klasi wende na kulipa mshahara. Hata afadhali usiongee. Ile kikiki mwalimu na kichukie hiki.
Kwa nini ufanye vizuri?
Nini pekee?
Si matokeo angalia hiyo. Uko sawa? Mwalimu unafanya leo chini kuna gani? Unafanya hiyo kwa nini ndio kwa nini? Disease and accidents occur suddenly and when least expected. If you have a medical insurance policy, it gives you peace of mind knowing that your medical expenses will be catered for by insurer up to your policy limit. Now you know. IRA, promoting insurance, protecting the insured.
A taxi driver who operates within the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has pleaded guilty to obtaining COVID-19 certificates for tourists illegally. Vincent Musioka appeared before Milimani Court Magistrate Francis Andanyi and was released on cash bail of 10,000 shillings or serve 3 months in jail. The travel agent for the tourist is said to have contacted Mutuku to facilitate acquisition of the COVID-19 certificate.
A taxi driver was charged at a Milimani court with impersonation in order to obtain COVID-19 test certificates for tourists. Vincent Nzola Mutuku appeared before Milimani Chief Magistrate Francis Andai and pleaded guilty to the charge that he committed on April 23rd this year at Amref Medical Center located at Wilson Airport in Nairobi. The charge sheet stated that Mutuku conspired jointly with others not before court to commit the offense in order to unlawfully obtain the documents for 5 Belarusian nationals. Mutuku is also accused of using the identification details of the tourists to get other people tested. The 37-year-old pleaded with the court for leniency, saying he was a first offender and a parent of 2 children, and his actions were only motivated by the need to provide for his family. Meanwhile, at the same court, 2 businessmen have been released on a 500,000 shillings bond, each after denying 12 counts of conspiracy to commit fraud contrary to Section 317 of the Penal Code. It is alleged that Shadapuri Ganshyam and Philemon Murara pretended to be a director and external advocate of Global Apparels Kenya EPZ Limited and conspired with others not before court to defraud heirs of 2 deceased directors of the company. The 2 also faced charges of stealing, making a false document without authority, and altering false documents. The case will be heard on Monday next week.
A section of victims who were evicted from Tarada land in Momoni sub-county, Kitui County, are now appealing for food aid and shelter from the government and well-wishers. The residents who are nursing stomach complications claim to have received unfit maize flour from a donor. Details of these and more in our news brief from the counties.
The locals from Mumomi who received the maize flour donation are alleged to have developed stomach complications. The foodstuff was allegedly donated to them through the county government. The victims claim their situation has been worsened by harsh living conditions and now want area governor to come to their rescue.
Utuone mahali tunalala na watoto wetu. Sisi ni hata tuliomba hata manguo kwa jirani. Tunalia serikali yetu. Tuko wapi? Jamani, tuko wapi serikali?
Meanwhile, police in Teso North, Busia County have gunned down a suspected robber and launched a manhunt for accomplices who managed to escape. The gang broke into 3 electronic shops at the wee hours of Thursday and escaped with goods of unknown value.
Vitu kadhaa imeibiwa. Na kwanza nataka pia kupongeza the business community.
Elsewhere, police in Kisumu have impounded a lorry ferrying BHANG with a street value of 1.5 million shillings. 2 suspects have also been arrested.
So what is my urge to the transporters? They should not abuse that privilege given by the government to provide essential services, because Omena falls under food, and which is an essential service.
And residents of Githunguchu village in Kirit, ward of Nyandarua County, are set to breathe a sigh of relief after the county administration embarked in the construction of a 12-kilometer trench meant to ward off marauding hippos from invading their farms. The hippos stray from the nearby Lake Olbolosat and have for years wreaked havoc in the area by destroying crops.
Zinakuja kwa mashamba, zinakula chakula, tunapanda hatuvuni. Kazi yetu tu inakuwa ni kazi ya mzunguko tu.
In another development, Migori County Weights and Measure Department Director Tobias Nyakiamo Thursday morning led an impromptu raid in Migori town and seized vehicle transporting underweight bread. 1 person was arrested and is expected to be arraigned in Migori court tomorrow.
The lorry had around 770 loaves, which we took a random sample of 56 loaves. When we tested the 56 loaves, we found that the average weight was 365.2 grams, which that is, it had a deficiency of 35.2 grams.
Finally, Lily Ngok has been sworn in as Kericho Deputy Governor to replace Susan Kikwai, who succumbed to COVID-19 complications on March 20th, 2021. The Deputy Governor promised to fight for the rights of women just like her predecessor, Susan Kikwai.
It is with great humility that I accept this call to help His Excellency the Governor as the Principal Assistant to deliver his government's mandate.
Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1.
Well, time now for business news. And county government should tap the capital market to raise long-term capital to finance key development projects. Capital Markets Authority Policy and Market Development Director Luke Ombara says counties have a 1.1 trillion shillings infrastructure funding gap, and only 4 counties have so far shown interest in floating infrastructure bonds.
In Kisumu are 4 counties that have undergone a credit rating assessment in readiness to float county treasury bonds. An assessment by the Capital Markets Authority shows that the 47 counties have a combined infrastructure funding gap of 1.1 trillion shillings. The Capital Markets Authority is urging county governments to issue county papers to finance their long-term infrastructure projects.
And we've looked at their county integrated strategic plans for 5 years, that's 2018 to 2023. And if you add all the development needs by counties, it's translating to 1.1 trillion Kenya shillings.
He says devolved units should take advantage of the new regulations by the National Treasury that allows counties to borrow up to 20% of their annual revenue collections. The Capital Markets Authority has reported increased appetite for green bonds as more investors target sustainable and viable options away from the corporate bonds.
Because we know that a number of fund managers, for example, removed the asset class called corporate bonds in their investment policy because they say they don't want to do anything. They don't want anything to do with it. But to create some kind of interest, we saw green bonds as an option that would be attractive, and it seems to be very successful.
CMA's Q1 soundness report indicates that there was low volatility in the first 3 months of this year, as NSE-listed companies recorded no major changes in share prices. Liquidity remained low in the NSE, but relatively lower than that of Q2 of 2020. However, there was a slight reduction in aggregate foreign investor contribution to turnover, with a slight increase in domestic investor participation in secondary trading. Benson Duopa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
verbal endorsement and your connections might not suffice to land you your dream job. This follows a trend by employers to invest in digital tools to enhance their job recruitment processes and onboard the right personnel.
Most of the tech firms had an upper advantage because they had already put forward resources which could have really helped them to be able to mitigate the situation as it was. So 80% of tech firms were able to embrace the work from home situation quite really fast. But I think also on the other end, small and medium firms and enterprises were really much affected because they didn't have that work from home program before. And then they had to really put forward a lot of resources.
Online jobs platform Brighter Monday Kenya says a majority of micro and medium-sized enterprises rarely invest in an efficient process to hire right talent and skills for specific positions, even though they represent about 90% of businesses.
And for us, we provide technology, which is the application tracking system, that helps the employer objectively make decisions. Now, they're not making decisions based on you've been in this industry, but you have the ability and you have the knowledge to deliver. And that's why we're moving people from industry one, which is mostly affected, to another industry that is good talent that employers need to consume. And it's with that we talk to especially micro, small, medium enterprises.
Brighter Monday Kenya Human Resource Manager Boniface Kimani advises businesses to be more strategic in talent recruitment and management by reviewing human resource policies and processes to redefine recruitment, working conditions, and employee experiences.
So we've seen emerging skills and during the COVID period, which are required by the job market, which include artificial intelligence. So technology has always been an enabler to help organizations meet their goals. So there's an increased demand in artificial intelligence or algorithms that helps to predict behavior and propose better solutions.
Currently, 85% of Kenyans are accessing the internet on their devices, with the latest research from Brighter Monday indicating that digital labor tools not only enhance hiring processes, managing and retaining and developing employees in the workplace. As such, businesses have been urged to leverage on digital tools and data to thrive in more complex and challenging business environments. The research indicates that there is a talent mismatch, and with an increase in remote working, innovation will play a major role in businesses preparing for a dynamic job market.
Working from home for most of us was really a necessity and really not a matter of priorities. Reason being the fact that COVID came, it hit us.
Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Government should renegotiate its loans to reduce the debt burden, streamline government agencies and conduct rigorous evaluation of projects in order to relieve funding pressure for the next budget. Tax experts from Ernst & Young also say creating a predictable tax regime would support economic growth.
In 42 days, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary is expected to table a 3 trillion shillings budget for the next financial year in the National Assembly. The draft document indicates that the budget would be 300 billion shillings more than the 2.7 trillion shillings tabled in June last year. Tax experts at Ernst & Young say this could be due to the COVID-19 crisis, ongoing capital-intensive projects, the upcoming general elections, as well as servicing of debts estimated to cross the 1 trillion shillings mark. Ernst & Young tax experts project that funding the budget could be a challenge.
Still, there's an increase of recurrent expenditure. The story talks of we are rationalizing, but when you look at the numbers, they have increased. So are we bold enough to question some of them?
Where we are borrowing to fund recurrent expenditure, and this just puts the pressure on the country and on the meager resources that we already have. Government is already facing increasing pressure to fund initiatives and projects to alleviate emerging socio-economic and infrastructure challenges.
A challenge in terms of absorption of the budget. And when you're looking at the absorption of the budget, it is both at national level and also at county level.
They recommend streamlining the ministries and parastatals and renegotiating conversion of some loans into grants to relieve the funding pressure. They are also calling for reforms of the tax system to create a predictable tax environment to boost investment.
And improving the deficit is always to raise taxes. But there has been proof that it's not only raising taxes that can actually help you improve your tax collection. When you raise taxes, you normally impact compliance. The taxes become prohibitive and people reduce in their compliance. When you look at Kenya, we have a very huge informal sector that doesn't know anything about taxation. Can the government start thinking out of the box and probably reducing or creating flat rate tax systems that can enhance compliance?
There is concerns of the ballooning national debt, which is about 2/3 of the GDP, noting that the borrowing has been driven by increased expenditure coupled with falling revenue collections in the face of a tough economic environment. In the draft budget policy statement, the National Treasury has tasked KRA to collect 1.8 trillion shillings.
Farmers should brace for lower tea earnings this year due to reduced prices in the international market. In the 9 months to end of March this year, Kenya Tea Development Agency says prices on the international market have reduced by 12% in what the agency attributes to a glut in the international market and disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic.
Farmers attached to the Kenya Tea Development Agency are likely to receive lower bonuses this year, extending reduced earnings that they have been getting in recent years. Kenya Tea Development Agency blames the latest projected reduction in tea earnings to lower tea prices in the international market. Last year, tea bonus payout raised an uproar after KTDA announced that the highest payout was at 31 shillings and 75 cents per kilo of the green leaf, while the lowest payout was at 9 shillings. This year, farmers are likely to fare even worse as tea prices reduced by 12% in the 9 months to end of March this year, according to analysis by KTDA. In a statement, KTDA Management Service Managing Director Alfred Jaggi said, quote, "Despite slight decrease in production, the tea stock in the global supply chain are still quite high, and these are having an adverse effect on pricing, not just in Kenya but also other tea auctions around the world." End of quote. Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics 2020 show that smallholder farmers across the country, including those marketing tea through KTDA-managed factories, have been increasing acreage under tea, which stood at 163,000 hectares in 2019, up from 141,800 hectares in 2018, which has contributed to increase in tea volumes on offer in the market. In the last financial year, smallholder farmers under KTDA produced 1.45 billion kilograms of green leaf, up from 1.13 billion kilograms the previous year. This represents a 22% increase in production. Benson Dioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
The government is tightening designs for optimal revenue sharing, as well as reviewing mining regulations and building human capacity to grow the extractive sector. In addition, Mining and Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau says challenges such as illegal mining, geographical data and infrastructure inadequacies are being addressed. Here is Alan Awako with the details.
Mining contributed 67 billion shillings to the economy in 2019, with the sector employing about 22,200 people from both the public and private sectors during the same period. However, the country's mining potential has been strained by illegal mining, geological data inefficiencies, and infrastructure inadequacies.
We just don't have data. If you see, we have only 4% of the country is currently explored. Although we are currently doing our airborne survey now, which is the beginning, the first part of it. So it means photographing the entire country.
2019 figures show that Kenya made 29 billion shillings in primary sales from mining, with 1.6 billion shillings raked in as royalties. This is well below the huge potential that the mining sector has.
This is what we have seen. Our contribution to GDP have been declining since 2014 to current now, where we have 1% or 0.8. The question is why is our GDP contribution
Speaking during a webinar on mapping and assessing the potential on the Kenyan extractives industry, Mining and Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau said the government is tightening designs for fiscal regimes to allow for optimal revenue sharing, reviewing regulations and building human capacity to grow the sector.
We need to find out, where are we taxing at the right place? Where is value added going to be put in place, and why is the smuggling going on? This is a question we need to find out for miners. And also, we need to find out who is buying this gold, why are they buying it, where is this revenue going?
Gold, iron ore, talc, soda ash, rare earth minerals and gemstones are some of the minerals found in Kenya. Alan Aoko, Channel on Business.
Google is strengthening development of mobile and cloud software product skills in Kenya and 16 other African countries by offering 40,000 scholarships. Google plans to offer new developer scholarships for Android, web and Google Cloud skills development at beginners and intermediate level that would see top students receiving Android or cloud development certification.
Google launched the first virtual class of its Startup Accelerator Africa last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was the first all-online iteration of Google's Accelerator program for Africa and saw 20 startups from 7 countries undergo a 12-week virtual journey to redefine their offering while being mentored and attending workshops. Google has announced 3-week application window for the 6th cohort of Google's for Startups Accelerator program, targeting 17 countries, among them Kenya. Beneficiaries will receive support enabling them to scale through the initial infancy stages from products development to commercialization. According to the Africa Internet Economy 2020 report, Africa Internet Economy is poised to boost the continent's economy by 5.25% in the next 5 years, which is projected to contribute $712 billion to Africa GDP by the year 2050.
And farmers are set to benefit from a 650 million shillings European Union funded training program in the horticultural subsector in Kenya, focusing on good agricultural practices, compliance with standards and market requirements. According to Agricultural Research Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga, the program would go a long way in restoring the competitiveness of Kenya's exports market.
Horticultural exports to the European Union accounted for over 50% of the total exports in 2020 and over 70% in income value. However, quality of production has declined and in turn reduced Kenya's competitiveness in the horticultural export market at a time when the subsector is faced with increased competition from other countries. To correct this, an EU program dubbed New Export Trade plans to invest 650 million shillings in the Kenyan horticultural subsector with the aim of ensuring Kenya's horticultural exports meet standards in target markets.
In particular, I would like to welcome the engagement between the public and private sectors in Kenyan horticultural value chains, an engagement that is geared towards collectively addressing the various emerging bottlenecks. It is also encouraging to note that the priorities of Next Kenya program have been informed by a detailed consultation process with key stakeholders from both private and public sectors.
The new export trade program targets the entire horticulture value chain with specific focus on micro, small and medium enterprises and the private and public services.
Presents a real good opportunity for diversification of farm produce, as well as increasing income for farmers. Of course, we have to support them through good agricultural practices so that they can understand the requirements of the EU market, and especially support them around the issue of minimum residue levels for pesticides, which is a big problem. And in the past, as I have been here, I've seen a number of interceptions, mainly in coffee, or in some horticultural produce, and where traceability of the produce is very important, because then HCD or AFA, through one of its directorate, is able to trace backwards to see where the challenges are.
Even though the program focuses on, among others, good agricultural practices, compliance with standards, access to markets, market intelligence, access to finance and business skills, experts are calling for creation of an all-inclusive platform to tackle challenges in the industry.
This process has started, and this is an open engagement to ensure that any aspect that may be affecting the competitiveness of the horticulture sector is addressed to the fullest. The membership of the National Horticulture Task Force takes on board, like I said, the public and private sectors, including representation from the county governments. The other thing that we've started is development of good practice guides for avocado. If you look at the exports data, avocado is now a major fruit in terms of exports.
Agricultural Research Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga, TIC. Agricultural Research Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga says Kenya is keen on expanding the export portfolio to the European Union to boost earnings for farmers. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
You're watching Business Insight. We are live from Broadcasting House. Remember, our interview of the day is coming up next with the acting CEO of Communications Authority of Kenya, and she's putting errant players in the industry on notice. Stay right here.
Siri za maisha. Siri ya kwanza ya maisha ni kujifunza kusamehe. Ya pili ni kujituma. Ya tatu ni kujifunza. Ya nne kukubali mabadiliko. Ya tano kuweka akiba. 6 kutokufa moyo. Na 7 kumtendea mwenzako jinsi ungependa akutendee wewe.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya siri za maisha, bonyeza *811 *397#. Bonyeza *811 *397#. Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickbit ni la bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini.
It is not about class or notability, but determination. In the second round, second division Holstein Kia surmounted all odds to reach the semi-finals of DFB Pokal. They now face 4 times DFB Pokal winners Borussia Dortmund. Is there a massive shock in the offing? This is a tie to behold at Signal Iduna Park on Saturday, the 1st of May 2021 at 9:30 p.m. Live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. Next on.
Aweka yako nini sasa? Kabla uniite mjuchi, mcheo wako anachona kaya. Basi ukimwona waona kaya na wanambilika. Unakwenda mpaka kwa mke wangu wewe. Kufanya nini? Mzee, kufanya nini wewe? Kama yangu. Ninamuona na mbona kujisimu? Kadamu na karatasi kiseme hivi. Hata hiyo tatu. Hiyo tatu ya nani babu?
On the next episode of Ashoka.
By pretending to be Queen Mother of the Warriors, you have turned out into a coward just like them. I have greed and passion like running in my veins. I will take revenge. No! I'm not a disgrace on the Marians, nor in a Imo people, because I'm not a Marian at all. Yes, I'm different. I belong to the great dynasty which Alexander the Great was a ruler on.
Has become your habit to interfere in every good deed ashore. No, Father. I've taken the responsibility of driving away the bad from the good. What exactly are you talking about? I'm sure you will not believe in me, Father.
East Africa.
Elsewhere, 48% of businesses in the East African community saw their revenue shrink by up to 75% as a result of the adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to the latest study by the East African Business Council, EABC, and the African Economic Research Consortium, which indicates that 36% of the affected businesses resorted to reducing their staff numbers.
African Business Council, EABC, the COVID-19 pandemic led to massive disruptions with the manufacturing, tourism and hospitality as well as agriculture being the most affected across the 6 member states. In its study, East African Business Council found that non-tariff barriers, including travel restrictions to contain the spread of COVID-19, contributed to a decline in business. 32% of respondents sampled said the effects of the travel restrictions were catastrophic, while 18% of the respondents supported the lockdowns and curfews. Further, the study found that 52% of businesses maintained the same business models but changed their business mode of operations, while 20% changed both their business models and mode of operations. 18% of the respondents were found to have closed or gone out of business completely as a result of challenges that emerged after confirmation of COVID-19 cases in respective countries. Experts are calling on governments in the East African region to review downwards income tax to free up cash that will stimulate demand. They are also recommending that businesses diversify their revenue streams by repurposing their offerings to withstand similar shocks. They believe businesses in the East African community could do better by implementing risk mitigation strategies to minimize economic shocks. Alan Auko, Channel 1 Business.
The Communications Authority of Kenya is keenly monitoring content being aired by broadcasters and its policing role aimed at ensuring that licensees adhere to the programming code. Communications Authority of Kenya Acting Director General Masi Wanjao says the regulator is particularly keen on ensuring that decent content is aired during watershed period so as to protect children. Our reporter Regina Manyara spoke to the acting DG in the wake of 2 broadcasters being penalized in the last 2 months after airing what the regulator described as indecent content.
Good evening, you're watching Business Insight and I'm Regina Manyara. The question is, how's the communications sector been performing? Taking us through this conversation is none other than Acting Director General Communications Authority of Kenya, Madam Masi Wanjao. Thank you very much for your time. So let's start off with the statistics. How have we performed so far?
The sector statistics are positive in terms of growth. We have seen increase of subscribers across the telecommunications platform, an increase of users in the postal platform. So that is positive because in this time of the pandemic, obviously, we realize that people are relying very, very heavily on technology to be able to communicate, to work, to transact, and we are enabling this. We also recognize that with this increase, there's also the sharp incidence of the rise of cybercrime or cyber incidents and the rising vulnerability to children and even adults on the internet platform. A lot of purchases, for example, are happening online. So financial transactions have increased very sharply in the last 1 year. And part of what we are doing to ensure that protection and awareness is heightened is sharing a lot of information through webinars, through social media and other platforms that people would be aware on what cyber threats look like and what it is they can do about it.
Pointing at that sectoral growth there, issues of digital transformation, is this something that we're likely to witness for the long haul?
So we do recognize that in the time of the pandemic, there's a heavy reliance on technology as an enabler, whether it's for business, whether it's for education or communication. And as a result, those populations in this country that do not have access to Signal or other platforms are really, really excluded. In order to bridge that gap, the Communications Authority of Kenya is working at an enhanced rate towards the implementation of products or projects under the Universal Service Fund, and part of this is the Phase 2 voice connectivity, which we are currently at an advanced stage of mobilization, which will ensure that areas that do not have access to network will begin to experience that transformation that Signal and the other enablers can bring within those communities.
In the recent months, as a regulator, you have issued some corrective measures in as far as local content producers are concerned. Maybe you can give us a brief.
Over the last 20 years, we all have witnessed the growth of the broadcasting industry, where we started off with one channel, and now we have over 100 channels covering different niches, different genres that address the various audiences we have in this country. The bottom line of going on air is that broadcasters owe a responsibility to their audiences, particularly during a period that is referred to as the watershed period. This is a period that is dedicated to family viewing time because it recognizes that families are likely to be watching, meaning that they're adults and their children, and they need to observe good taste and decency within that space. So we do have one of our licensees who aired content that was of an adult nature within the watershed period, and it became necessary to take the appropriate actions, as we have taken today, to ensure that when they do come back on air, the appropriate mechanisms have been put in place to safeguard audiences, particularly vulnerable audiences such as children. And we also have required that they, as part of the corrective action, they will air content that is aimed at desensitizing any children who may have been exposed to that programming as part of the corrective measures. Thereafter, of course, we will continue to monitor, as that is the requirement. That is the responsibility of the Communications Authority of Kenya, to monitor the airwaves and ensure that they are used and dedicated for resourceful purposes.
In some quarters, some local content producers have said some of these corrective measures are too draconian and infringing on their freedom of expression. As a regulator, is this so?
Yes, with regard to the broadcasting mandate, we do have the requisite tools to take charge of that area. But as we are all aware, culture is evolving very, very fast and across many fronts. Now, our contribution as the authority is to ensure that when the free-to-air TV is switched on in any home or any place where viewers are watching, that it carries the content with a responsible way in a manner that is required by the regulatory tools. We do have a programming code that sets out in great detail the timing and the manner and the tone of content that is supposed to be displayed on these stations, and that is a commitment that we continue to keep up to ensure that our airwaves are safe. So that statement, I think, is not valid, and if it were valid, these tools are not fixed in time. They're always up for negotiation, and perhaps the better platform would be to open up these instruments for negotiation so that we're able to keep reflecting what our tastes and our requirements and the evolving of culture represent, so that then it would be a robust response to our emerging culture.
As we embrace digital transformation in all aspects, be it business or even how we communicate, then we are also picking up risks. Where do we stand when it comes to countering cyber threats?
Cyber threats will always be there, just like we have criminal activities happening in the real world. But the catch here is the sensitization and the awareness of what these dangers present and what to do about it. This is a relentless commitment from the Communications Authority of Kenya, and we do not do it alone. We do it together with our licensees, we do it together with other partners, because it's a great force and needs to be met across the board by many, and we will carry on with that. Of course, in doing that, we are also guided by emerging practices and trends worldwide, that we are able to really capitalize on them and ensure that the effect and the impact is lasting. Indeed, I quite agree with you that even as you pursue gains and benefits, you must never for a moment compromise the population, even in the search of those gains. And it's a constant need. So allow me to say at this point that one of the critical markers is the collaboration and the cooperation that we receive from our various licensees, and they have done us proud. And to encourage that their compliance is our success, is the success of all of us, and also to encourage consumers, when they do come across something that is disturbing or concerning, to let us know, so that we would be able to look at it and guide or take corrective action. We must do this together.
What is the regulator doing to ensure online safety, especially for minors?
Yes, indeed, there are very many protections that have been put in place for children and other populations to ensure that what they access is wholesome. Coming to the issue of child online protection, this is one of our flagship projects actually for the last couple of years, and we have really enhanced it during the COVID pandemic, and we'll soon be running a campaign on child online protection in recognition of the very issues that you have mentioned. Children are learning on these platforms, they're spending a lot of eyeball time on screens and on the internet as a protective measure, and this will be running. We will also be enhancing it actually to include gender-based violence, which is yet another aspect that has emerged, and there's data and statistics that has come from the Ministry of Gender to establish that actually this is on the rise, and so we will be broadening it on that category as well. But coming to your question around gaming, is yet another of those trends that are on the rise, and we have recognized that this is a space where we share jurisdiction with the BCLB, Betting and Control Licensing Board, and we are working very closely together to pursue this area that is of mutual concern, to ensure that access and administration of betting and gaming is also done within the rules.
What is your take in regard to the fact that Kenya has already now rolled out 5G? What impact then will it have to digital access as well as digital transformation?
This is really taking us to another level in terms of digital transformation. And recently, last year, actually, His Excellency did launch a digital transformation vision for this country. We are seeing a lot of public service delivery shifting to the online platform, starting, for example, with the communication of exam results is done online, payment of taxes is now done online. We are now getting used to the idea that you can begin to pay your bills and to monitor your various other affairs online. So this is a trend that is happening towards digital transformation, and this is a global trend. So with the adoption of new technologies like 5G, what this will do is to increase speeds, to increase clarity and provide a new offering, better quality offering. And as we do that, we also seek to bridge the gap in the areas where there is no signal, so that at the end of the day, we ensure that no one is left behind as we take that voyage, let me call it a voyage, towards digital transformation, because the benefits are numerous. Creation of jobs, availing of opportunities that are out of boundary, and this is something we must pursue as a young country with a young population, with with great leadership in technology. This is an opportunity that we really would like to seize.
Highlighting the issue of competition, especially within the telecommunications sector, how do we compare? How does the competition look?
Competition is an organic event, and it keeps changing from time to time. In this time where we have seen quite a number of businesses depressed and people off work, you note from the statistics and the emerging trends I have shared, there's been an element of growth, and we encourage this. And the role of the Communications Authority of Kenya is to backstop and watch the trends and put in the necessary corrective action where it seems to be going off. But we are happy to report that even in this time, the trends are positive, and we are watching and we are monitoring, and we'll come back, because at the end of the day, we owe our responsibility back to the public to give feedback on what corrective action we are taking.
What does the future portend for matters of telecommunications post-COVID?
I think Kenya will never be the same again. Fortunately for us, in recognition of the African continent, we were well placed to deal with the COVID realities. Our penetration in terms of statistics across the board, whether it be broadcasting, radio or TV or the postal and courier industry, were positive, and they have continued to grow. This has meant that actually our way of life has changed in more ways than one. And it will only take time for us to reflect back and see that indeed we have really moved. So the challenge for us is that even as we embrace this new way of life, that we would embrace it in a way that is wholesome, a way that is inclusive, and a way that puts appropriate safeguards for populations that are vulnerable.
Parting shot, Madam DG?
As a parting shot is to indicate to consumers overall that we have your back, and we are doing what needs to be done in this time. As far as a provision of universal service and closing the gaps for those who do not have the service, this is the commitment that we must carry on and bridge the gap. In this season, only technology really can bridge some of these gaps, particularly when it comes to public service delivery or even education to the young populations. So on that, we carry on in order so that we can narrow these gaps or even eliminate them. Going on the other side, on aspects of consumer protection, particularly safeguarding for vulnerable groups, we carry on with some of our flagship projects, the child online protection, the gender-based violence aspects that we are also taking on board to ensure that awareness is heightened, and that even as we put these platforms in place, that they are platforms that will deliver good, that they will deliver value, and we are able to minimize as best as is possible on the unintended consequences that would present.
There you have it. We have been speaking to the acting Director General Communications Authority of Kenya, Madam Mercy Wanjau. The regulator assures that it is going to continue performing its mandate in this regard to make online safety a priority. I'm Regina Manyara. You've been watching Business Insight.
A surge in iPhone sales, especially in China, has led to a doubling of profit at Apple since the start of the pandemic. Rival tech firm Facebook also reported bumper revenues and profits, but the social media giant warned Apple's latest software release could undermine its prospects later in the year. Here are the details in our international business news roundup.
Customers continued to upgrade to Apple's new 5G phones, which were rolled out last year, and also bought Mac computers and iPads to tackle working and studying from home. Sales to China nearly doubled, leading to overall revenues for the first 3 months of this year of $89.6 billion, more than 50% up compared to a year earlier. Profit was $23.6 billion, up from $11.3 billion for the same period last year. However, the two companies are locked in a standoff after Apple announced the latest version of its iOS operating system this week. Facebook saw a rise in monthly active users, which were up by 10% at 2.85 billion. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs has said record labels and music publishers are set for a strong rebound as the younger audience continue to flock to TikTok to watch short videos. Song features heavily, and TikTok saw downloads soar as the pandemic hit in early 2020. Newly signed licensing deals with music publishers will provide a boost with scope for significantly more upside for the content owners. Goldman Sachs see music industry revenue rising by 21% this year as live performances resume after the pandemic. The streaming surge on Spotify and other music platforms is also set to continue. Finally, China will be more willing to participate in global trade reforms if it does not feel being targeted by other countries, according to the World Trade Organization chief. Anxious about China's powerful state-owned enterprises, the United States, European Union and Japan are pushing for caps on industrial subsidies. They say this will distort the global economy. However, their proposals need to be unanimously approved by 164 members of the World Trade Organization. China has said it will be more ready to discuss industrial subsidies if talks are also extended to agricultural subsidies prevalent in the West. The global agricultural subsidies were around $1 trillion per year and could reach $2 trillion by 2030. Terry Njenga, Channel 1 Business.
Sasa, hii ng'ombe ni yako. Asante. Hii ng'ombe itakuwa maziwa mengi kabisa. Sasa shida ya school fees imeisha. Jen, chukua hii. Hebu nikuulize, hii maneno nasikia ya bima ya elimu inaweza kuwa namna gani mtu amechukua? Process ya kuchukua insurance kaba yote ni rahisi. Hata niko na kaba ya gari yangu. Kwanza, unajaza proposal form kama hii na uijaze wewe mwenyewe. Na kama haujui kusoma, uijaze na mtu unayemwamini. Hakikisha ile majibu umepatiana ni sahihi na ni ya kweli. Pia dhibitisha insurance kada imeangalia maslahi yako. Na usiwahi sign proposal form ambaye haijaandikwa kitu chochote. Pia ukumbuke kujitolea fotokopi yako. Sasa wacha nianze hiyo process. By the way, ukisubmit hiyo proposal form, uhakikishe umepatiwa policy document. Uisome na uielewe. Hiyo ndio dhibitisho ya kuwa unabiba.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na IRA. Next on.
What's she done? Just be extra careful and don't touch her under your phone.
What? Hello? You can't see him until he's fully recovered.
Please get out of my house.
So this is what you guys discuss. Outing. Glenn, we are not done.
Yes, ma'am. Just the beginning.
You want to take me down so badly, huh?
You're guilty.
We can get out of this if we work together.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Michelle, what did you do to annoy Kinyanjui this month? This woman alone, such a melodramatic idiot. Oh, I am a woman, eh? An idiot woman, see here? Okay. You did not know how smart I am when I am finished with you. I am talking to you. Ne, if you feel this job is proving to be very challenging, I would suggest, that you just remove aside. Better step down.
You know, this is almost like a comedy training class. I mean, you people are so funny.
I think it's very much Ma'alimu.
That wasn't meant to be a compliment.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Well, time now for sport, and competitors will have daily COVID-19 tests at the summer's Olympic and Paralympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, to minimize the risk of undetected positive cases. Any athlete who intentionally refuses to take a test will be sent home. The Olympics are due to begin on 23rd of July, with the Paralympics set to start on 24th of August this year.
Competitors will have daily COVID-19 tests at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. They will also need to wear face masks except when they are eating, drinking, sleeping, training or competing. Those traveling from outside Japan will be given a phone with apps for health reporting and contact tracing. There will be no international fans, but a decision on whether local fans can attend the games will be made in June. There is no requirement for athletes to be vaccinated, but they will need to undergo a 3-day quarantine on arrival. People traveling from outside Japan will have to take 2 tests before flying. No participants can use public transport and will instead use dedicated games vehicles. Passengers in the vehicles must refrain from conversations. Those at the games can eat only in catering facilities at on-site venues, restaurants, at their accommodation or in their rooms. Any athletes who intentionally refuses to take a test will be sent home. The Olympics are due to begin on 23rd July, with the Paralympics set to start on 24th August.
Still on sports, where already qualified Pyramids AFC of Egypt ended their African Confederation Cup group stage campaign with a 1-0 home victory over Tanzanians Namungo last night. Winger Ibrahim Adel scored what proved to be the winner 3 minutes past the hour mark.
Giants Raja finished the mini-league stage with perfect record, having their 6th victory in as many matches as they defeated Zambia's Nkana 2-0 in Casablanca.
Lays it off to his teammates, chance to shoot here, and the opening goal goes the way of Raja Casablanca. And what a finish it is, lashed into the top corner to teammate, and there is the header, the second for Raja late in this first half, and it's Waila Sadawi, Mohamed's reader, whipping in the cross.
Nkana finished the group 3rd on 6 points, while Namungo trailed the pack pointless and without even scoring in the campaign. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
The the UEFA Europa League resumes tonight with first 2 legs semi-final matches. 2017 champions Manchester United host Roma at Old Trafford, while Arsenal will be reunited with former manager Unai Emery as the Gunners travel to Villarreal. Last night, Manchester City pulled off a brilliant comeback to take control of the UEFA Champions League semi-final 2 against Paris Saint-Germain with a 2-1 win in the first final leg in Paris.
Instructed his players, enjoy.
Manchester City pulled off a brilliant comeback to take control of the Champions League semi-final tie against 10-man Paris Saint-Germain with a 2-1 win in the first leg in Paris. PSG took an early lead through captain Marquinhos before City produced a brilliant second-half performance to Tenswell. The UEFA Europa League resumes tonight with 2 first-leg semi-final matches. Serie Europa League winner Unai Emery welcomes Old Foes Arsenal for the first leg of Villarreal's Europa League semi-final clash. Villarreal defeated Dinamo Zagreb 3-1 on aggregate to advance to the final 4, whereas the Gunners swept aside Slavia Prague 5-1 over 2 legs. Vicente Iborra is the only absentee for the Spanish side, while Mikel Arteta has a fully fit squad. The Gunners are relying on the tournament success to save a sorry season. At the Old Trafford, Manchester United will host Italian Serie A side Roma, with the tie set to play a large role in defining both clubs' seasons. Midfielder Pedro Gianluca Mancini, Riccardo Calafiori and Nicolo Zaniolo are unavailable for the Serie A outfit, while Anthony Martial remains sidelined for United.
It's a game, it's a special game, it's a semi-final, and then added on top playing against United, and obviously being in Rome for the past nearly 2 years, I think I know the importance of bringing home a trophy because it's been far too long. So there are so many ingredients for this that I don't think there will be a bigger game to be a part of, and no, I'm just thankful that I'm now fit and I'm able to contribute because the whole squad needs every player.
You know, in the past we've missed out on a few finals, and you know, I think this season the way we've been playing, the way that the confidence is high, we've got real belief that we can reach it, and of course, like I said, it's massive motivation for not just me but the whole team to reach the finals.
This will be the 5th semi-final for the Red Devils in all competitions since the start of last year, but are yet to progress to the final during the time.
At that point, we come to the end of Business Inside for today. Thank you so very much indeed for your time. Remember, Inside Government is coming up next. We are talking to Chief Engineer at Materials Testing and Research Division at the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. And the question is, are we assured of the quality and safety of the roads that we are constructing in this country? That is a question that the Chief Engineer will be responding to, plus more. Thank you for your time. Have a good night. Bye for now.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. Weatherman says wet conditions will continue over most parts of the country in the next 24 hours. Strong southerly winds of 12.5 meters per second will be experienced Friday afternoon in the counties of Turkana and Marsabit. But for tonight, the whole country is experiencing scattered wet conditions, and this will stretch towards the morning hours. It will affect the capital, Meru and Nyeri. It will be cool and cloudy during the morning hours. Friday morning in the capital, areas of Machakos, Makindu, Voi will experience rains during the early morning hours. The northeastern parts of the country will mainly be characterized with scattered wet conditions, but that won't be the scenario over the northwestern parts of the country, where the wet conditions will mainly affect the border along the Kenya, Ethiopia, and Sudan. The Lake Basin region and western sector will experience sunny intervals. A few areas in Kisumu, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kisii will experience rains during the morning hours, and these will change in the afternoon. There will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms over the western parts of the country, which will affect Kisumu, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kisii. The northeastern parts of the country, areas of Moyale, Wajir, Marsabit, will continue to experience wet conditions after short sunny intervals in the afternoon. The coastal strip will experience scattered wet conditions after sunny intervals prevailing during the mid-morning hours. The capital, Meru, Nyeri, Machakos, Makindu, Voi, there is a possibility of showers of a few places during the afternoon hours. The highest temperatures across the country will be experienced in Mandera, Garissa, and Lodwar at 37 degrees Celsius. The capital will Friday experience highs of 24 degrees Celsius. Let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Good night. See you tomorrow. God willing.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika, and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET-approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design and soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725 923 550 Nairobi branch, 0728 087 689 Eldoret branch, 0722 227428 Thika branch, 0725 000 706 Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET approved institution.
It is not about class or notability, but determination. In the second round, second division hosting Kia surmounted all odds to reach the semi-finals of DFB Pokal. They now face 4 times DFB Pokal winners Borussia Dortmund. Is there a massive shock in the offing? This is a tie to behold at Signal Iduna Park on Saturday, the 1st of May 2021 at 9:30 p.m. Live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sport partner.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wandevi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wandevi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
Tunakupa burudani.
Naombea yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Ndani ya March of Live kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nani nite Ken 1GB.
Nini naki? Kitela.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Michelle, what did you do to anoint Nyanjui this month?
This woman alone, such a melodramatic idiot.
Oh, I am a woman, eh? An idiot woman. Sit here. Okay. You will know how smart I am when I am finished with you.
I am talking to you. Ne, if you feel this job is proving to be very challenging, I would suggest that you just move aside. Better step down.
You know, this is almost like a comedy training class. I mean, you people are so funny. I think it's very much my animal.
That wasn't meant to be a compliment.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
The construction of the Nairobi Expressway is progressing at a breakneck speed, and according to government statistics, every day this road is being constructed at a rate of 120 meters. Now, this is raising questions about the quality and the standard of work that is being carried out in one of the most ambitious infrastructural projects in the Greater Horn of Africa. Joining us to help us understand these plus more is Stephen Kogi. He's the Chief Engineer at Materials Testing and Research Division at the Ministry of Transport. Thank you very much for finding time, Engineer, to be with us and, of course, to help us understand more about the construction of the expressway, among many other projects that we are supposed to undertake. First of all, when you look at this project that was launched back in October of 2019, here we are, according to some estimates, 35% completed. What conclusions do you make? The conclusion I make here on behalf of even the ministry, because when I'm here I talk for the ministry on behalf, is that we are so far satisfied with the progress, but would have liked to see more progress in terms of the speed acceleration. Definitely, you realize the time period is given to end the main structures by December, and therefore, when we look at the progress, we are encouraging the contractor or the developer to improve on the speed of delivery. You're talking about speed, and Kenyans are actually worried that this project is moving at a faster rate than anybody else ever expected. Can it be done faster? What is being demonstrated here is that you can actually achieve a very fast construction rate and still at the same time be able to achieve the specification, the standards, the quality, and the performance of the structure you are undertaking. So it all depends on how you undertake the works. So maybe if I can give an example, this is a 27-kilometer stretch of road. This road, it can take a very long time. For example, if you put one tip, that is the one which will start from kilometer 0, going all the way to kilometer 27. It can take half that time if you split it into two. It can take a quarter of that time if you split it into 4. That means you are splitting it into smaller sections, so the so-called chewable sections, so that you achieve your end results. So at the end of the day is how you plan your work, how you mobilize your resources, how you put in place all these issues about sourcing of material, the expertise you have, the equipment that you are putting in, and also all the time looking and testing that you are able to produce the right quality of the product that you want. So it is possible to achieve even faster. As the saying says, put more men. If you put more men, you definitely end up with a quicker or a faster completion of this project.
As an engineer, and you have been in this industry for more than 3 decades now, you've seen many projects, come and go. Have you ever, in your practice, seen a project of this magnitude, being undertaken at the rate that this one is taking? Projects have been undertaken at this speed, or components of projects have been undertaken at this speed. Just recently there was SGR really. It had as many structures, or even more, than this road, and it was completed within that short period of time, and so far it has performed fairly well in terms of what was the expectation. So yes, there are projects which have been done, and remember, when SGR came and people were asking, how comes, why are you saying it can be done in 3 years? And people are reminded that the old Uganda Railway was done in a much shorter time. What did they do? They just put more people. They split the section into small sections. As long as you have done properly the preliminary, like the design, you have done proper design, you have done proper survey, what you call setting out and all that, just like in a building, so that you don't put a structure here and it doesn't mesh with everything else with the other teams are doing. So it has to be a fairly concise science in terms of coordination between the different teams you are putting in place. So yes, projects have been undertaken with this speed. Does it have anything to do with the fact that this project is privately funded, and so the investors want to complete this project as fast as possible so that they can start recouping the investments? That obviously is certainly a factor, yes, because obviously the faster this developer or the financier is completing or finishing the project, the earlier he starts recouping his resources or his finances. So yes, that is a factor, and that is why we even contracting. Why do we go to contracting? We give someone to contract our house. It's because if we do it ourselves, we take too much time. If we give a contractor, he wants to finish as early as possible and then get back his money. So yes, that is a factor. If he finishes much earlier, he'll start recouping his investment much earlier. Yes, true. The contractor, is on record saying that, this project is progressing at a rate of 60 meters on a daily basis. As a division, whose work is to ensure that the quality standards are maintained as well as the safety standards, are you able to cope with this speed of construction? Yes, we are able to cope, and the reason is simple. When you have such a big construction or project, you have to put things in place so that there is delivery and there is check, there is monitoring at every stage. How do you do that? You have the supervision team, like these projects now. We have an independent expert who is the supervisor, and he will be checking this project as it starts from the beginning to the end. He has as many teams as the contractor is having operations. The contractor himself, we are looking at what are the quality assurance and quality control systems he has put in place. For example, is he checking every component or every aspect of the work as it progresses? Then you will want to see how he is checking, and then you will want to see test results. You will want to see to sample, for example, just to check what he's giving you is really what is written on those papers. And that is something that is happening on a daily basis in these projects. So the consultancy team and the other team, quality control team, they are as many as the teams are available here who are working. So yes, as long as you put teams, structures in place, quality control systems in place, you can be able to check the system. So we don't have to be, as a department, come here every day to try and do that. You basically look at the systems which is in place. The same way, in the production of cement, you don't test all the cement being produced there. But there are systems which are there in place. The contractor or the manufacturer has certain systems, sampling of testing, and then when it comes out, you also do a sample and you test. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we will also come and, as a division, what we also do, we do what is called a post-construction evaluation. Post-construction evaluation means we will come now from zero to the end and look at the various components and basically see whether they were done the way it's supposed to be done. And we have equipment, we have facilities. This concrete, whatever number of years it says, we can come here and tell you the kind of reinforcement that was used here by X-ray.
Even 20, 10 years from now.
Even 30 years we can tell you through X-ray. We can tell you the strength that is there. Of course, there will be now a residual strength because part of it will have been used. We will be able to tell you what kind of depth and all that. We will be able to tell you whether this project achieved the objectives. So yes, there are various levels of testing. There are various levels of monitoring the performance up to and including completion of the project. You come and soup and see what you actually get is what you bargained for. In any case, please remember, some of these structures, like this structure is designed to concrete, you design for 100 years, for example. Yeah. So you want to see at the end of the project, are you expecting to get 100 years out of these structures? The same with the roads underneath. You are saying you are designing for 20 years. So after completion, we will come and look and see whether we are actually going to get that 20 years, given the traffic that we expect on this road. And you can do that with technology. We have the equipment here. We don't need to go anywhere to look for that equipment, technology. Yeah. We have it in our division in the country, the ministry. We have it.
The China Roads and Bridge Corporation, is using the prefabricated bridge technology, whereby, you have the prefabricating as well as, the assembling of cast, being done on site in a different place. And if you go, which is about 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers from where we are, you definitely see a sprawling yard. Do you have your officers there to ensure that, number one, the cement and the mixing being done at the site, meets your standard, as well as the steel that is being used is of the agreed standards? It's a very good thing you brought, because you asked me previously how you can accelerate the project. And that is a classic case of how projects are accelerated. If today I cast on a manufacturing yard or pre-cast all these structures, then you realize all I'll be doing is coming with a crane and then placing it. So what are the things that you're doing in that process? We are having what you would call a modular kind of structures building. So in other words, you're having elements which are similar. So you can actually have a manufactured processing. And even the building sector we are now going to that. So that these elements, it is so much easier for the contractor to fabricate in his yard, because he has automated a number of things, and it is a production, and then even the testing, it is much easier. You can do that as opposed to coming here and trying to cast these things in place. Mm-hmm. So in that yard, luckily, most of what they are doing is in mainly the same yard. Like we have one in Langata Road. A lot of these girders, what we call the beams, is actually done at the Langata Road yard. Yeah. They also have another yard somewhere here in Vet. So they are not as many, but what they are doing there is so much. Mm-hmm. So you come with a modular, you come with elements that are almost similar, you manufacture them before in the yard, you just come here and place them as you move. So here what will be most critical is now the pile, which is basically the foundation. Yeah. And then coming up from the pier, what you call the pier or the abutments, that is really the critical things here. But in terms of what is being pre-casted, there is a very robust kind of... but even this, what is being casted here, you realize the formwork they are using is almost the same formwork. So you can replicate. The testing is the same kind of testing. So you replicate. It becomes so much easier. In terms of capacity, as I said earlier, I don't have to be there as a department in all the sites, because we have the supervision team, is a consultant, what you're calling the independent experts, a fully fledged firm which has all these expertise within these projects. So they are not only on each road section, they are also where the manufacturing is being done. So what we do is more of the oversight, to come to see whether what is being done and what they are checking is what we expect, and how they are checking it, is it what we expect. And then at the end of the day, we also, when need be, we carry out sampling, if need be. And don't forget also, as I said, you can come at any time and do what we call non-destructive testing. Those X-rays, you can come to see what strength of concrete it is. So I really don't have to have presence in all those yards. There are, in many social media sites, there are questions also being raised as to, and people suggesting that this project, the way it's being constructed, is being constructed to last to the duration where the investor is expected to be, operating this project. Then after that, the project will start crumbling. Is there any credence, to such theories? I can put it this way, that whoever is coming up with that thought is thinking business. And there's nothing wrong to think business, because every business person
thinks of maximizing the returns. And maximizing returns is putting less, isn't it? So, yes, that's a risk, for sure. But then, that is why also this monitoring. The design review, because it starts much earlier. It starts from planning. And that's why he's able to do these things so fast. He did a lot of ground investigations and all that much earlier. So there is a design, and then you do a design review. The design review is when you ask those tough questions. This concrete, for example, I can design concrete for 50 years. I can design one for 100 years. Yeah. So you want to see, is it what he's planning to do? And after he's done, is it what you are getting? And that is what now the work of the independent expert is, and also by extension what we come later to do. When it comes to the road, what people now know as the road, apart from this structure, the design currently, the optimal designs are about 20 years for this kind of traffic, unless you are doing concrete, in which case now you would do at least 40 years design. So the sections that you are doing concrete, you would expect him to do at least a 40-year design. The section is not doing concrete, is doing the other material used, bituminous, then we would expect a design period of around 20. Doesn't mean it collapses after 20. It means after that 20 years, now you are expected to come with a lot of rehabilitation works to strengthen it. So, and remember, the person is here for 20 years, for 30 years, 27 years, 30 years. So, and in terms of the agreement, there is a level of service he is expected to leave this project when he finally leaves. In other words, the tenure of the contract. Yes, the terminal, what we would call the terminal. So we are telling him that we are expecting, when you are leaving, the road should have a terminal life for example, 10 years. So you would expect him to come with the proposals. How does he strengthen the road so that by the time he's giving back to you, it has that residue? And remember, we can test it. Whatever he's proposing, and he does, at that time, you can test. If you can test now, believe me, you, from that years, you can even test better.
Now, according to, contractual agreement between the government of Kenya and, the contractor, that is China Roads and Bridge Corporation, this is supposed to be a BOT, build, own and then transfer, for a period of 27 to 30 years. So what happens once the contractor or the operator leaves the site? This project or this road will last for how long? He won't just leave. The road agency will come and inspect together with the developer or the contractor, as you put it. And then we will look at what residual life did we say we expect that road to have. If we are expecting the residual life to be 10 years, that is what is in the agreement, then we will test at that time, or whoever will be there will test at that time, to see that he's actually meeting that. Then the contractor comes with the proposal, because chances are it may not be. Residual life it may not be 10 years or whatever years. I'm not specific here. Then he'll come with the proposals, how do I increase that? He will come with overlay, he'll come some sections, I'll put some concrete. He'll come with a proposal. And then at that time, he will assess, you give a go-ahead to intervene, but the most important thing is checking after he has done it. Are you going to get that? So yes, there is the concern is valid that we should be able to get a road that will last the duration of time after you finish. The concrete, even though his project or his time is 27 or 30 years, the concrete we expect 100 years design. That is what our standards for 100 years. 100 years. So this project is expected to go for another 70 70 plus years.
It is
After the contractor or the developer has left.
It is expected that, but of course with the maintenance.
There will be maintenance.
There will be maintenance. There will be a bit of rehabilitation here and there. And of course, if there is need for a bit of strengthening in some sections, you will do that. But in terms of concrete, we would expect 100 years. So we are saying concrete structures and bridges is 100, but remember the other road section is not 100. And why are we saying that? From the science or engineering perspective, it is very difficult to come and construct this. So we want it as many years as possible. In terms of bridge where there is rivers, there is something we call the return period of rain. You want to look at the maximum rain, you look at 100 years, what will be highest level you expect to achieve. So yes, that is, we expect quality at the end of the day.
And what, of course, with this kind of a project, you expect that, there will be a lot of redesigning of the existing infrastructure. Before this project, there was our Yakire, there was the whole highway, and there was Mombasa Road. Now they have been reconfigured completely, and they look absolutely different. Are they also going to be constructed, or the contractor is just going to leave them in the shambles that they are in now?
Certainly it will not be left the shambles, as we put it. There is the issue about reinstating the road to what the public would expect. But also remember, the government also has projects. I may not all components are part of this project. But of course I would ask my colleagues in implementers, Kenha, to confirm the actual components. But definitely you expect we will be having still travel using the road down the motorable section. But also there is what is being done as BRT within this corridor. So we expect also, as that is being done, that road section below is going to be, the capacity is also going to be expanded, and also issues of strengthening other furniture and other facilities to be added on it. So yes, it's a multi-prong, and that I wouldn't think it would be part of this project, for sure. But my colleagues in Kenya can confirm that. We can confirm that.
Help us understand this. I mean, yours is just a department within the Ministry of Transport, Housing and Urban Development. And so, because of that, you would imagine that the personnel may not be so big to monitor all the projects that are currently ongoing in this country, from, ports expansion to roads like this, to railway lines, to buildings. How do you ensure that as a department you are well represented in all these projects?
First of all, our main focus is infrastructure as infrastructure department in the ministry. So in other words, the other departments outside infrastructure. So our main focus is infrastructure. But that does not mean we don't provide services to the other departments. We do provide services, most of them on a call basis, to the other departments. Like for example, you will see us in the airport, the runways, for example, when they are rehabilitating, when they are designing for those runways and all that, you will see us there giving our inputs and other infrastructure development around there. But our mandate is mainly in infrastructure. So what we focus on is a lot on our three roads authorities, and trust me, is a lot of work they are doing. And also we create that capacity that the county governments can also use our facilities to monitor and check the kind of work they are doing at their regions. Very well. As we wind up, you have 16 regional centers, in this country.
There were plans sometimes back to turn the division into a fully fledged parastatal. Are there such plans now? And what do you plan to do going forward to ensure that you have a footprint in all 47 counties?
Currently we have a program of, and supported, and we must thank World Bank for that, supported by World Bank, which also supported us in the other transformation, in this transformation of this division. And we are targeting, we have a time frame, and we are saying by 2023, end of 2023, we should have transformed the division to an agency, or what we would call a semi-autonomous agency. Yeah, we have the capacity, and that is the good thing about it, is that the division already has a very big capacity. Yeah. For example, we have more than 300 members of staff, yeah, and more than 250 are technical staff. Engineers, you have 30 engineers, you have physicists, you have chemists, you have technologists, you have technicians. Yeah. So it's a very, very strong human resource. Yes. We also have a very strong equipment and the technical backup, state of the art. In fact, I must tell you that we even train our neighbors, like Southern Sudanese and all that. They come to us for training.
Mm-hmm. So there is enough capacity.
So enough capacity is there. It's just now to tweak it so that now the other advantages you get from an efficient institution in terms of the structure.
Finally, in 30 seconds, can you assure Kenyans and the world that the Nairobi Expressway is being constructed at the desired standards and it will last to the desired time frame?
What I can assure the public is that the ministry and the implementer, that is KENHA, has put structures in place to ensure that we have a structure in terms of the road from the 27-kilometer expressway to the standard that it was designed for or conceptualized for the period that it was conceptualized. So we have put, and the ministry has put in place all these structures, all these systems, so that we are able to achieve that.
Well, we have been talking to Chief Engineer at the Materials Testing and Research Center, Division. Well, giving us assurance that the projects that are being undertaken in this country, they meet the desired standards. You have been watching Inside Government. So my name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again on that the next time. Have a good time and all the best.
Creations.